We are going to begin. Got it. We are going to begin promptly at 7. It is 7 o'clock, and I would like to welcome everybody that's coming in. I think people are going to continue to trickle in as the session continues, but I wanted to start promptly. I didn't want to delay to respect people's time. So thank you very much for joining in. This is Orijin Foundation's first webinar or information session that we're doing over Zoom. We've been doing other activities, but this one I think is really important. And when we think about what's been going on for the past 2 years and how we've been in contact with deaf very closely, and it puts us in front of our own reality. Do we have our papers in orders? Our affairs are in orders. So today's topic is going to be advanced directives, and we have Linda Lee Wynn, PA, who is gracing us and volunteering her time to give everybody the information to put us in the right direction and to let us know what we need to do to be informed, be protected, be educated, and be prepared. And this is really what's important, is to be prepared in times like this. Next slide, Romuald. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. All right. So today we're going to begin by first letting everybody know that we're going to have interpretation services provided by Itiba Service. And I'm going to have Itiba do the announcement in English and Spanish. And I'm going to do the announcement in Creole, so that if anybody needs to listen to the session in the language that they are more comfortable in, they can use those lines to either listen to it in Spanish or in Haitian Creole. Go ahead, Itiba.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Itiba. Pronouns they, she. The community coordinator for language justice at Itiba Services. I'm here today in collaboration with my colleague Osias, and we're here to provide a space of language justice where folks are able to communicate in the language that's best for them. We know that Florida and our community is very multicultural, so it's important that we're able to reach and communicate with folks of all places. So additionally, this call will be recorded in both interpreting lines, so folks will be able to watch it also in English, Spanish, or Haitian Creole. The line to be able to access Spanish line is 605-968-8886, and the code to get in is 4176914. I ask that if you're going to be a speaker, please maintain a pace that is going to allow for us to follow along and interpret everything you're saying appropriately and according to what is being spoken. And we ask to keep one voice, one mic. So if you are not on the mic at the moment, please turn off turn your mute on to make sure that there's no audio issues. Now I'm going to do the message in Spanish. Hola, mi nombre es Itiba, pronombres ella, él, ella, y yo estoy aquí hoy como coordinadora de justicia de lengua para Itiba Services. La razón de esta llamada es para asegurar que en este espacio se presente justicia de lengua, donde todas las personas que están en la llamada puedan entender lo que está sucediendo en el idioma que más fácil se les haga comprender. Para contactar esta línea y comprender la llamada en español, puede hacerlo vía el teléfono 605-468-8886 y el código es 4176914. Si usted va a ser una de las personas que van a estar compartiendo algún mensaje en la llamada, les pedimos que mantengan un paso que permita a los intérpretes transferir el mensaje a la mejor forma posible. También les pedimos que aseguren mantener sus celulares o computadores en mute, en silencio, en el caso que no esté hablando en ese momento para evitar cualquier problema de audio en la llamada. If at any moment we feel like I need to slow any of you down, uh, I will first put it on the chat board, and if we don't get a response, we will get on the camera and give you a slow down motion so that we can ensure that the call is being interpreted properly. And with that being said, I pass it on to Ozias for Haitian Creole message. Or I think, I'm sorry, Natasha was the one that was going to do it. I'm sorry. Pardon the confusion.
That's okay. Donc, bonsoir tout le monde. Nous te voulons insister pour nous faire session ça, pour nous offrir en créole et en pagnol aussi. Peut-être nous croyons dans justice linguistique. Donc, nous croyons que tout le monde a supposé tendre message ça dans la langue que vous plus confortable. Donc, si vous voulez tendre session ça en créole, c'est pour aller sous téléphone nous et puis ou rentrer numéro 605 313 5799 et puis numéro access code c'est 3450620 et puis si c'est en pagnol vous l'étendez 605 468 8886 access code 4176914. Moi mettez un numéro yo dans chat là tout. Donc si pendant appel là nous voulez garder qui numéro yo yé ou mettre dans chat là pour garder. Si nous avons intervention pour nous faire parce que par une session côté nous qu'a poser question, m'a demandé que tant pris parler doucement pour interpréter yo gain temps pour yo interpréter toute bagaille correctement et que nous voulons pour tout le monde qui attendait yon ak l'autre. Donc ça veut dire que les ou pas parler, tant pis fermez microphone nous. OK? Donc nous allons commencer avec prochaine diapositive là. Next slide, thanks. All right. So in order to help each other make this a very interesting learning environment, we have a couple of rules. First of all, I don't know if you hear the background, have a drink, make yourself comfortable. If you want to keep your camera off, that's okay. What's important is that you get the information. Like we said previously, if you're not speaking, please keep your microphone on mute so that there is no background noise and we can hear all the information. And if you want to ask a question, you can put your questions in the chat. You can type them in the chat. But at the end of the presentation, we are keeping some time so that you can interact directly with Linda and ask her some questions. So if anything pops up, either write it in the chat or write it in your notes. And when she's done with the presentation, then you can be able to open your mic and ask the questions. Next slide, please, Ron. So what we will cover today, it would be advanced directive, which is that conversation that nobody wants to have. But it's important to have this conversation. It is important to know what you need to know in order to have your affairs in order. What is advanced directive? What does it include? What is a power of attorney? Living will, do not resuscitate, and reviewing and changing the advanced directive if you need to do that in a future time, proxy designation, and of course we're going to have the Q&A. Next slide, please. So let me introduce to you Linda. Linda Lee Wynn has been, I need to put my glasses for this one, has been practicing attorney for 30 years. She is licensed to practice law in all Florida state courts. the Federal District Court for the Middle District of Florida, and the United States Supreme Court. Ms. Wynn has been a member of the Elder Law College since 2017. She attended an Elder Law College four-day conference in 2017 and the Advanced Elder Law Conference in 2018. She's spoken at various women's groups as a guest speaker in regards to estate planning, elder law, and long-term planning. She has focused her practice in the areas of probate and estate planning, consumer bankruptcy and reorganization, mortgage and foreclosure issues, such as foreclosure defense and loan modification, as well as debt settlement. Ms. Wynn started her career as an associate at the law office of Guillermo Ruiz, PA, where she practiced probate and estate planning, corporate consumer bankruptcy, and general practice. She left the firm in 1998 and became an associate at J. Weller, PA. Later, she became a partner with Mr. Wheeler, a firm that practiced primarily in consumer bankruptcy law. In August of 2006, she founded the law office of Linda Wynn, PA, where she continues to practice in the areas of probate and estate planning, elder law, long-term planning, consumer bankruptcy, and foreclosure defense. So we're going to break the ice with a little short video, 2 minutes, that will put you in the, I don't want to say the mood, but kind of let you know what we are going to be discussing today. Next slide, Romya.
Be your healthcare proxy? Like if you need someone to tell the doctor what to? I just go with whatever the doctors say. I wouldn't want to bother them. They're so busy. Doctors know best, right?
Be your healthcare proxy? Sure, I'd be happy to if I'm in town. Check out my Instagram pics from Peru. Wish you were here.
Oh, I could never let you go. I can't even throw a plant away. As long as it's got one little green leaf. I'd be like, can't we upload her to the cloud?
Well, heck yeah! I've given this a lot of thought. Let me tell you what decisions you're best off going with. You never let them resuscitate you. And if they even try to hook you up to one of those breathing machines, never! I got this! I totally got this!
How can you even talk about this? I can't, okay? I just can't. Mom, it's not like you're gonna die. No, I can't talk right now.
Oh wait, did I show you that meme from iFunny? The cat and the dishwasher? Oh my gosh, okay. So the cat's like, bleh. And then he's like, wah! Oh wait, sorry, what?
Well, hon, you and I have been through so much together. Here's what we'll do. We'll sit down, we'll get a cup of coffee, and you tell me what matters to you.
Well, it wouldn't be easy. I mean, I'd be sad, but I'd have your back.
I remember when we went through this with Mom, we really spoke for her. So I think I can do that for you. Let's talk about what you would want.
So this little video is put together by the Conversation Project, which is a foundation also that focuses solely on end-of-life conversation and preparedness. So without further ado, I'm going to leave the mic to Linda Lee Wynn, PA, so that she can do the presentation, explain to you everything that you need to know. We talked about this. She's going to be the one preparing my papers. Believe me, I'm meeting with her Saturday. We're getting things done. We're not waiting. So go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. You can all hear me, right? Can you all hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for having me. I'm so excited that I'm here and I'm able to speak to you. One of the things that was not on my bio is that as an elder law attorney, in dealing with some issues with my own family,
I recently took an end of life doula class, which is something I had never heard of before, and probably none of you have either. But basically, an end of life doula is someone who is hired either by hospice or by someone who in the family needs some help when someone's at the end of life. And so with that process, I learned a lot. And one of the biggest things I learned was how hard it is to have that conversation that we just watched in the video. And that's what jogged my memory to that. It's a hard conversation to have, but without that conversation, you're not planning for your family. You're not taking care of your family, and you're leaving all of your wishes and everything that you want up in the air for other people to decide. And when you pass, it's hard enough on your family and friends and whoever else, you know, your significant other, to just deal with that loss, yet alone having to deal with trying to get all of these paper, you know, all of this figured out, the funeral and all of this. So for that reason, I just want you to know how important it is to me that you understand these papers, because I think that we should all be looking at this and taking it seriously, not just because of COVID, but because of anything that could happen to us any day. Not one day is promised. So with that, I want to talk to you about something called the power of attorney. The power of attorney is a document that you prepare with either an attorney, or you can get them online. You just have to make sure that it's notarized properly, that you sign it in front of a notary. And what you want to do is pick a person that you feel would be comfortable, and you might want to speak to them ahead of time, stating that they could be in charge of all of your financial things in case, for example, you get in an accident and you're in a coma, or you're just too sick to make those decisions, or you're in the hospital for a long time and your bills need to be paid. One of the problems is if a person is not listed with your creditor, for example, with your mortgage or with your car or with your credit cards, as a person that they can discuss your loans with, they will not discuss them. So you could be in the hospital very sick, unable to pay your bills, and this other person has access to your checking account or is able to pay your bills for you, but they can't because no one will talk to them. So a power of attorney gives people a lot of rights. And mine actually states that if you take this document to a bank or to another financial institution, or, you know, if you want to sell a property and you take this document and they refuse to, that there's actually sanctions under the Florida statutes for doing that. So you want to pick someone. Most people pick a spouse or a significant other or a best friend, someone you really trust, to be your personal representative. You can then also pick someone to be your personal representative in case that person at that time is sick or is unable to do it. So you can pick an alternate. And some of the powers that this document gives, and they're so important under the statutes in Florida that you're required to initial these paragraphs when you do your power of attorney. And one is that this person can collect all sums of money for you that you may be owed, maybe your paycheck. They have authority to conduct all of your banking transactions, take your money out, pay your bills, that type of thing. All of your investments, they can manage your investments. They can execute receipts, releases, cancellations, or discharges of money or property. It also gives them the right, believe it or not, to sell your property that you have, your home, you know, anything they need to do that they feel is in the best interest of you. So you need to really make sure this is someone that you truly trust. They can prepare a trust agreement. For example, and this is the most common reason I see for it happening, if you were to get so sick that you had to go into a nursing home, under the nursing home rules, it says that an individual cannot make more than $2,500 a month, or they are not eligible for Medicaid to pay the nursing home bill. Well, the typical nursing home room today is anywhere from $8,000 to $11,000 per month. There's no way most people can pay that. So what you can do, your power of attorney can go and prepare something that's called an income trust. And basically, say you make $2,700, because, for example, my dad was $200 over because he got Social Security. I did a trust. I put that extra $200 into the trust. And then my dad qualified for the Medicaid. And then, you know, at some point when that person passes, then you either have to pay that money that's in that trust to the nursing home or to the government, depending on where the bills are owed. But it's just a wonderful thing to help people qualify, because how else do you get the care you need? And you may only be a couple $100 over on the income. So the power of attorney is very important. My power of attorney also gives people the power to talk to your insurance company, your health insurance, your doctors, you know, anything that I can do, for example, and I give a power of attorney to someone else, it's as if I'm doing it. So if you give someone the power of attorney, it's as if you're letting them do anything you could have done under the power of attorney. So it's a very, very important document. And I believe that everyone should have this document. I actually read something once that said, if you're 18 years or older, you should have this document. Reason being, most 18-year-olds today have a car payment. They have a credit card or two. And the parents, for example, say something happens to that child and they're in the hospital for a few months. That person could lose their car because the parents can't make the payment because they don't have the power of attorney. Sometimes, for example, someone comes into money and you're sick, you're in the hospital, you're incompetent as well. It also takes effect if you become incompetent. So it doesn't go away if you become incompetent. Now, if you're competent and you have this power of attorney and there's a argument between you and the person you gave it to, you supersede that, and you can always revoke this up until the time of your death. When you die, the power of attorney is no longer valid. People always say, I have the power of attorney. No, it's no longer valid once you pass. Okay, so that document no longer is valid. Now, I have found that a number of people still accept it, but technically, as a lawyer, I can tell you that it's no longer valid once you pass away. So it's just a really important document, I think, that everyone should have in basically their arsenal for their family, so that their family has everything they need. For example, when I was qualifying my dad for Medicaid, because he was on Social Security, my dad had this little $70 bank account in Alabama where they used to live. It was like an act of God to get that bank statement, so I could send it to Medicaid. If I did not have that power of attorney, I would have never have gotten the bank statement. And that would have caused me a big problem in trying to get my dad the care that he needed and required, because he had had a major stroke. I had been taking care of him for 2 years, but I could no longer do it after that major stroke. And I don't know what we would have done. And, you know, the one thing is, as an elder law attorney, not just someone who does wills and trusts, I also help people try to keep their assets and still be able to get the care from the government that they're entitled to from all the money that you've paid in over the years, without, you know, taking away every asset you have. And like, my mom's still alive, and leaving your spouse or someone penniless. So that's one of the things that I do. So it's really important to have that document. The next document I want to talk about is your healthcare advance directives. This document is gold as well. During COVID, when they have the hospital lockdowns, it's quite often that the nurses and doctors will not talk to you unless you have the advance directive in your hand and you can fax or email it to them. The reason is they're on lockdown. They've got a million people calling them saying, I'm sister, I'm cousin, I'm brother, I'm this. They have no idea who you are. They have to be so careful with HIPAA. They have to protect your rights and your privacy rights. So this healthcare advance directive is basically where you appoint someone, excuse me, to be your healthcare surrogate. That is the person who's going to make decisions for you in the event that you can no longer make decisions for yourself. Okay, so this person, number one, you want to make sure that they're able to make the decisions that you want them to make for you. For example, if you know that when you die, you do not want a breathing machine or a machine attached to you, you need to make sure the person you appoint is going to be able to make that decision, because some people are emotional, and when the time comes, they won't be able to do it. The other thing I always suggest to my clients is that you talk to the person that you want to appoint and make sure they are aware that they are the person, and make sure that they want that responsibility, because some people are taken aback and are surprised and would have been honest with you and said, no, I don't want to be the person. Let so-and-so be the person. So I think that's very important. But what this is a document that says, you make the decisions for me. I'm going to tell you what I want and what I don't want. I want a feeding tube. I don't want a feeding tube. You can change this the way you want it. Some people want, to have the machine put on to try to save their life. But in the event that it's not going to keep them living without the machine, then they want it turned off. So all of those things are in there. For example, you can say that if it's an end stage condition, it's going to leave you severely and permanently deteriorated, that you don't want any machines, put on. The healthcare surrogate, for example, if you have brain damage, something like that, they actually, this is very important, especially for hospice patients who are at home or even someone dying in a hospital. The healthcare surrogate under my documents is given the authority to say how many people can be in the room. Because sometimes, it's a circus. You've got 20 people in the room and the patient is dying and they're talking and laughing. And I don't think that's appropriate. So the healthcare surrogate can say 3 in a room, 2 in a room, or if someone becomes unruly or is just getting out of hand, this document gives them that kind of power. It also gives them the power of signing your death certificate and also where your remains are sent, for example, to a funeral home or where you want those remains to be sent. That is all under the control of the healthcare surrogate. Now, if you're competent and you can make your own healthcare decisions and you and the surrogate disagree, your opinion is going to supersede theirs. But if you're incompetent, the court determines, or not the court, that's a different document, I'm sorry, the doctor or, the health staff says she's not in the position to make those decisions, or you're on a lot of morphine or that type of thing, then the healthcare surrogate's decision is going to stand. It's a very important piece of paper. Like I said, my brother, who is disabled but can speak for himself and is not incompetent, was in the hospital during the COVID lockdown. He was sick and said, can you call the nurse and tell her this, this, and this about my medicine? I said, sure. I called up and she said, no, we will not talk to you without the healthcare surrogate. I said, but my brother's right in his room. You can walk in there and talk to him. And they said, no, they would not do it. I don't know if you've had that experience, but that's definitely been something that's happened to me. And my dad, when he had his major stroke, it was also during COVID. And I had taken him to Wesley Chapel Hospital. And at that time, all the hospitals were on something called a bypass. And basically, they wouldn't take him anywhere, even though he had had the stroke. He had to be bay flighted to Lakeland Regional. When he got to Lakeland Regional, they were on lockdown. I couldn't get in there. I couldn't do anything. First thing they wanted was my healthcare surrogate to say, can we talk to you about my dad? So we would have been very lost without that document. I mean, who knows when or if they would have talked to me, because he was in there for 2 weeks and they were still on lockdown when they released him to the rehab. So for my purposes, I think it's just, something you really want to have. And, you can, like I said, you can tailor it to whatever you want. It's your document. Something really interesting that I found out, like through my practice, every day is a new day. That's all I can tell you. But I had a client whose mom was in hospice. She had cancer, but her kidneys were supposedly good. My client needs a kidney transplant. He called me up and said, can I get a document that says that my mom's kidneys can go to me? I was like, I don't think so. I've never heard of it, but I'll check into it. Surely I checked into it. And as a healthcare surrogate, you have the right to give away a person's organs and to even supersede the driver's license donor organ card. So for example, in his case, we did the document, but her kidneys weren't going to be viable because she had been sick with a cancer and they were afraid he could get cancer. But I thought that was really, really interesting. And there's actually a Florida statute that says that they have the right to do that. So to me, that's just unbelievable. But every day I learn something new. The next thing I want to talk to you about is, let's see here. I did tell you on that. Gosh, a lot of them was taken right from my own mind. Oh, I know. On the healthcare surrogate, it does have a document that in that document, it says that you're also going to agree to hold harmless, meaning Nobody's going to sue your healthcare surrogate for the decisions they make. Nobody can. That says that basically they are sue-proof. They are going to follow your decisions. And if someone doesn't like it, too bad. So that's another reason that it's very important to protect that family member who's making those decisions. The next thing I want to talk to you about, of course, is your will. That, of course, is a very important document because in the state of Florida, for example, if you have a husband and a wife and the wife passes and you have 2 adult children, say, without a will, the wife gets half and the 2 adult children get the other half to split between them. That's very important because most people want their spouse to receive everything. If you have no children and you're not married, then believe it or not, it goes to your brothers and sisters, and it goes to the decedents of your brothers and sisters that have passed. So for example, I have one estate that there's about $6,000 in there, and there's about 30 beneficiaries because some of these people had a number of children and it just went on and on and on. So it's very important to get your will done. Make sure the things that you worked hard for and that you want them to go to certain people. Am I talking too fast or am I okay? Okay. For example, in your will, the first thing you want to do is pick out your personal representative. Now, that's a person basically that you trust that can make sure that all of these documents get handled. And you can also pick a co-personal representative. For example, some people do pick their daughter and their son, to be the co-personal representatives, and they work together. I personally don't like co-personal representatives, and I've done a lot of estates. It's just a basis for argument. I think that you should always pick one and then pick the other one as an alternate in case the other one doesn't want to do it or, has other obligations and can't do it. The next thing you want to think about is your property. Do you have a home? If you have a homestead in Florida, you can actually do something called a ladybird deed. Now that's a document that's outside of the will, and it basically transfers your home to whoever you want to have it at the end of your life. So it gives you a life estate, and when you pass, that home goes directly to whoever you listed should receive it. Creditors cannot touch your property, and you can always revoke it and change your mind, but it's a really great document. A lot of people like to do just simple life estate deeds. In my opinion, that's a mistake because I'm a bankruptcy attorney. And if you do a simple life estate deed, then you have a life estate and then say you want the balance to go to your 3 children. If one of your children would have to file bankruptcy, believe it or not, they have an interest in your property based on the extent of how long you're supposed to live. And then they have an interest. And so a part of it could be lost to creditors. So we're lucky. There's not very many states that have the ladybird deed, but we're very lucky we have that option. And it's just a great tool to protect your home, not only to make sure it goes without probate, but also if you had to go into a nursing home, your home is then protected. So back to the will, I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked there, but you also want to choose who you want to get your property. And if you have children that are under 18, then you can actually set a trust up within your will that says someone, usually the personal representative will be the trustee, will hold on to that money. And you can decide if you want that to be until they're 18 or until they're 25. You can kind of pick that timeline. Also, if you have minor children, you want to make sure that you appoint a guardian in your will to take care of your children in the event something happened to you. You don't want a lot of litigation going on. It's going to be hard enough for your children. God forbid, 2 people are in the car and you both pass and the children have no one. It can get really ugly and very expensive, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Pick someone that you trust, and you could even pick an alternate for that if you want. But, for example, my niece right now has been saying, I need to get that done. I'm like, you do, because we already know that one of the grandparents has a lot of money and the other one doesn't. And we just know it's going to be a war of the worlds. And it's just a simple piece of paper could fix that. And your children would be going through enough if something happened to you. They don't need to be in the middle of that. In my will, what I do is I put a list. You can make a list and you can leave it with your will. And it basically says that, say you have some personal jewelry or I don't know, a book, something special that you would like to leave to a certain person. You can write a list and you leave that with your will. And say next week you change your mind, you get mad at them, or you want to give it to someone else, or you got something new and you want to give it to them, you just rip that up, you date and sign it, and you put who you want to get it, and you put it with a will. That avoids you having to redo the will over and over and over and spending a lot of money with attorneys to keep fixing your will and changing it. Now in Florida, you can actually do a handwritten will. You do not have to have a lawyer prepare it. However, it does need to be signed in front of two witnesses, and you all have to be in the room together and they have to see you sign it, preferably notarized. But, I don't really recommend that. But in the event you're in a situation where you don't have your will and all of a sudden, you might not have enough time to get a will done because it's happened. I have done hospital visits at 5:30 in the morning, grabbed a witness and a notary and headed to a hospital where the person wasn't even sick, but suddenly, especially like with COVID, got sick. You don't want to be in that position. You want to pre-plan. That's another thing you might want to consider. Figure out what you want for your funeral and for your body. Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to have, there's a new thing called a green funeral. That's basically where you're not embalmed and you're buried in a pine box, and it's usually at a nice preserve. And it goes back in the day before they did all the embalming and all the expensive, caskets and all of that. And it's a really nice opportunity to go back to nature. And one of the things that we learned in the doula class actually was that the amount of like poisons and things that are being put back into our earth as a result of all the embalming and everything that's been going on is just amazing. So that's an option that you can always look into. Talk to your family. The communication issue is very, very important. No one wants to talk about this. I have clients who have said to me, oh, if I do that, that gives me that means something bad's going to happen to me. And I say, no, look, we're all going to die. That's just a fact of life. That's the way it is. We have to prepare. We prepare for, going on a vacation. We prepare for college. We have to prepare for death. I mean, it's inevitable, and we love our families, and none of us want our families to be so stressed out and arguing at the time of our death over how things should be. Once it's written out like that, it gives them a lot more peace. It gives you peace, believe it or not, to know that it's all taken care of. So I hope that I've helped you with, one more document I'm sorry I want to talk to you about, I apologize, is a pre-need guardian document. That's a document where you say, if I become incapacitated or incompetent, this is the person I want to be in charge of me and my financial affairs. Because if you don't, and you become incompetent and say you don't have all these other papers that we have in place, then what happens is the state comes in and they appoint you a guardian. These guardians are very expensive. If you have anything of any value whatsoever, I had a client who had $1 million estate. By the time the attorneys and the guardians were done before I got the case, they had ran through like $300,000 of her money. And this guardian would do things like go watch her play bingo and charge $100 for the visit. She did nothing. And it's really becoming a problem in Florida. And you may have seen some of it in the news where they take away people's rights. And it's a very big process to take away your rights, to prove that you're incapacitated. It requires 3 doctors, a judge. I mean, it's a very big thing, but you're taking away all of your rights. So it's important to make sure that whoever is going to be over you in case something happens is someone you completely trust. And you don't want some stranger. For example, in that case, the daughter and the son, they didn't live here, so they didn't know that someone had done all this. And then the court appointed this guardian, and the guardian would not even talk to them about her physical, what was going on, because she was like, I don't have any authority to talk to you. So this stranger was in charge of her health issues. I mean, no one wants that in our lives. We want to make sure we're prepared. Finally, something that I've just learned about, Natasha knows, is you may want to have a document that says who you want to pick up your remains and who you want to be in charge of those kinds of things, because amazingly strange things can happen. And you want to make sure that all of your wishes are followed through with. So that's actually a new document that I'm going to add to my package. But all of those documents I do put into a package for you, and I guide you through picking out, I'll sit and talk to you and help you through who you want to choose for those things. And, a lot of times people have something in mind, and then once we really talk it out, they might change their mind as to who they want to choose. But those are pretty much the biggest items that you want to have. But like I said, at this point, even a will is so important. But to me, the power of attorney and that healthcare surrogate, those are the two most important documents, because without those, you really put your family and yourself in a problem if something should happen. Is that it?
Well, that was a lot of information.
I hope so. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I do talk fast.
No, the pace was right. The pace was
Good.
right.
Good.
We are right on schedule, actually.
Oh, that's wonderful, because my speech was longer and I kind of shortened. I thought I was speaking the whole hour. So
No, we want to keep.
I wrote it all out and I'm like, it's coming.
It's gonna be a time for you guys to ask questions. I know that when I was telling everybody about it, we have one already. I was telling people, write your questions down, because we're gonna have a Q&A session at the end. So this is it. So unmute yourself, Ange, and ask your question.
I do have a question. I'm wondering, if you are married, does your spouse need a power of attorney or a healthcare proxy for you to make decisions?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, usually they will, if you don't have that and you're married, they will, follow the spouse's guidance when it comes to the machines and things like that. But when it comes to the actual power of attorney, going to the bank and changing things or creating a trust, no, you have to have that actual document. But you're right. I mean, if you're thinking that, yes, a lot of times there's no one to decide, but then, you're still putting your spouse in that argument thing with your children and all of that. This way, it's like, nope, mom wrote it down, or, my sister wrote it down, and here it is. This is what she wanted. And that's why I'm doing this. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So
Great,
in order
perfect.
to make any type of decision health related, I still would need the healthcare directive.
I think it's best to have it because that way it eliminates any pressure on your spouse, because that way they say, no, it was all written down by her and I'm following her wishes. So don't anybody give me grief about the decisions I make. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Barbara. I saw your hand up, Norma. Sorry, Norma. Unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Okay, she's mute now.
Oh,
there you go, Norma.
Is it just me, or I can't hear?
I can't hear her. No.
She's probably double muted. She might have muted herself on her phone.
Oh.
And on the Zoom.
Okay.
Oh, can I just add one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about this. Okay, Norma, we can hear her now?
No. Write your question in the chat, Norma. I don't know why we can't hear you. Rom, can you look into it, please? Go ahead, Linda.
I was just going to say, so these documents are very important for us, but also if we have elderly parents, we want to make sure that they have those documents in place, because that helps us as well. And those are hard discussions to have. And, if you want to call me or whatever, I can kind of lead you through how to have those conversations. But it is very important that they have those documents in place. And the other thing I want to say is, if you do have elderly parents, please keep an eye out for anyone out there who could be trying to take advantage of them. If they have a new friend, you know, if they met somebody and suddenly you've never heard of this person, and you know, just keep an eye out on that, because it's happening more and more, especially a lot of people are out of work, and you know, a lot of people are just moving targets for these people. And also, really, I did used to tell my parents, now I'm here, but don't open the door for anyone unless you know who they are. Because the other day someone tried to bang down this door in this house, and I was like, who is it? And they're like, oh, we're selling something. Well, how do you know you're selling something and you're not coming to hurt these elderly people? Because they watch, they know. So I just wanted to bring that up, even though it's off the subject of what I do. I just wanted to give you a warning about what I've seen happen. So.
Okay. Yes, I have a couple of messages in the chat.
Okay.
Suggestion for doing a POA or advanced directive for relatives that live overseas.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure there's attorneys over there that can do that. I don't think you can prepare one here, even if they came here and have them sign it here and have it be valid. I think they'd have to do it where they live.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Marie? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I have Norma's. Oh, Norma. Oh, here's Norma. There's her question. I am single with no dependents. What is the best way to protect my assets if I become incapacitated?
Okay, so one of the things you want to do is talk to an elder law attorney, either myself or someone else, to make sure we protect your assets so that, God forbid, you got sick and had to go into a nursing home. The next thing you want to do is, you know, determine where you want everything to go to, because you want to make sure. Now, if you have a life insurance policy, that's one thing I meant to mention, that falls outside of the probate. So as long as you name beneficiaries and you make sure that their names are spelled correctly, otherwise it can cause a probate. You can name a beneficiary in a life insurance policy. It's going to go automatically to them. You can do the same thing on your bank accounts. You can name a pay on death on your bank accounts, and then there doesn't need to be a probate. That person can get the money. So those are two things that you can do. Same if you had stocks or bonds, you can usually name a beneficiary. Otherwise, you want to do a will and make sure that, you know, where you want everything to go goes there. And we want to make sure that we have all your wishes written down as far as what you want at the end of your life and who you want to be your healthcare surrogate.
Does that help, Norma? Let me see. Can we hear you now? Maybe? No? No. Any other questions? Either you can put them in the chat or go ahead, Barbara. I see your hand. You have to unmute yourself though.
Okay. No, I don't have. Hey, I don't have a question. I just want to give you guys a little piece of information. I know Linda for about 15 years, and she's always watched out for me. She takes care of my legal questions like Natasha takes care of my health questions. But recently, my mom passed away, and Linda had done all the paperwork for us. And thank God for that, because I would have been in a horrible, horrible situation. But even with all the paperwork, I am still fighting for my mom's ashes because someone, a predator, got in our lives. And if you think it can't happen to you, well, then just call me up and I'll give you a couple of hours worth and probably a bucket full of tears to let you know that it can happen to any one of us, especially those of us that are living our lives and working and minding our business and trying to follow the rules. We are the best targets. So so if she's trying to give you her time, this is probably worth about $500 to $600 of attorney time. And if she's giving it to you, you might want to take advantage, because getting this done now while you can and you are free of thought and mind and your parents are healthy is the best time to do it. Because when they're sick, it's almost over. It's almost too late.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say that for Linda because,
Thank you,
she's
Barbara.
very important to me.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, really, it's just most important to have those documents done. That's, to me, it's become my passion. This whole thing has become my passion. Like I said, I went to end of life doula school. I want to make sure that people are protected. Now I know a lot more about hospice care and end of life care. And I did that because I wanted my clients to be advised, because I've recently gone through the loss of my father, and my mom's on hospice care right now. And I didn't know a lot of things. I learned through the process, but now I want to be able to help people know if that should happen to them, what's available to them, and I just want to make sure that everyone's protected, because it's not, even with those documents, she's right. I mean, I had to sign it, I had to sign an affidavit and everything to get the bank statement, but without that power of attorney, I wouldn't have gotten nothing. Yeah. So.
Norma has a piggyback question, and we have
Sure.
2 more. What about protecting assets while I am alive?
You mean for creditors? Is that what she's thinking?
Yes, she's nodding.
Yes. Okay. Actually, yes. There's a number of things you can do to protect your assets. You can talk about an annuity that's protected. There's a number of things that are exempt from creditors in Florida. I would love to talk to you about it individually and find out what kind of assets we're trying to protect. But for example, in Florida, if you've lived in your home for 3.5 years, you have unlimited protection on your homestead. So, that's a really good thing. Even if a creditor sued you, you can get that lien removed through a process through state court. Annuities, IRAs, 401ks, they're all protected under Florida law. Pensions, as long as they're done properly and set up properly. So there's a lot of exemptions. Florida's very free on their exemptions from creditors. Yes.
Okay. And there's a question also about, is it possible yet to will cryptocurrency assets to a beneficiary in your will?
I would think so. I think it's an asset, correct? It's something that you own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see why not. No, you can do it as a specific device. Absolutely. Also, if you don't do a specific device, the will can just say that all the residue of my property goes to, and you don't even need to set out your car, your crypto, any of it. You can just say everything I own goes to this person.
Okay. All right. There's another question by Norma. Oh no, it's a comment. Yes, it happened to my dad, and he has dementia, and I could not protect his assets.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and even now, in order to even file a bankruptcy for an elderly person, you have to have the power of attorney with the right language in there. The bankruptcy court will not allow you to file on their behalf. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, it's a very important thing to have these documents in place for all kinds of reasons. I mean, we don't usually know how much debt our parents have or what's going on, some of us do because we've been active and, maybe they've been sick for a long time, but if they haven't, you can get a big surprise, or you walk in there one day and they're crying and you don't know why. And then they tell you I have all this debt, but yeah, say they have dementia, or you find out you can't file a bankruptcy. It's too late because they have dementia. So you can't get them to sign all the forms unless they have like a lucid moment and they understand. So yeah, then you can't do it. So it's so important to do it while people are healthy. Definitely.
I have a question of a situation that happened with people that I know, and actually it happened with 2 people, two persons.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a child that is incapacitated,
Uh-huh.
they're already incapacitated, and you did not get the power of attorney. What is your legal resource to be able?
Then you have to get a guardian appointed. I think I know who you're talking about. I think I spoke to that one person the other day. You have to get a guardian appointed in order to take care of them. So usually they'll give that to the parent. That's a little different than what we're talking about for an adult being appointed a guardian of the state. But typically they'll let the parent be the guardian. I think as long as you don't have a criminal history, the court will allow that. And sometimes, I mean, I know a friend of mine went down to the courthouse and did it all by herself with the clerk. They just filled out the forms. So yeah, it's definitely possible to not spend a fortune.
Yeah. There's another question. Can there be a contestation clause in a will?
One that says you can't contest my will, and if you do, you're out. I think that's what we're talking about.
Is it? Marie, is that what you're talking about? Yes.
Yes. Okay, so in Florida, that provision is actually not a valid provision, but between you and the lamppost, I put it in all my wills, I put it in all my trusts, and I tell my clients, most people are gonna read that and back off. They're not gonna run out and get an attorney and start fighting because it just is enough to make them nervous. It's not really valid, but it's not illegal to put it in there. But it will maybe do the trick on calming down the brother or sister who's all wound up, because it's like, oh no, it says you can't contest the will. And most people aren't going to run and get an attorney at that point.
Okay. Okay. That's all the questions I see in the chat. Does anybody else have any question? This is your, whoops, this is your chance to ask your question if you had it written down, if something has been nagging you. Go ahead, Marie, unmute yourself.
Hello.
You want to? Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Linda, thank you so much for doing this for us. It's dearly appreciated by
Oh, you're so
everyone.
welcome.
What I wanted to know is, do you offer will review services?
Oh yeah, I'd like to review the will and tell you if I think it looks valid.
If I have received, say, a parent's will,
Oh
and this
yes,
is
absolutely. Yes,
mine.
absolutely.
Do you offer that?
Yeah, make sure it looks valid and all of that. And was it done in Florida or was it done somewhere else?
In another state. It was years ago.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely take a look at it. Sure.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? The Ladybird deed was very much an eye opener. I did not know
That's a
about
piece
this.
of gold. The professor that I had that told us about, well, I knew about it before, but then he was talking about it. His father is the one that actually got it approved in the state of Florida. But Ladybird actually comes from Lady Bird Johnson. And I know the story now and I forget, but it's actually named after Lady Bird Johnson, who was one of the first ladies. Yeah.
Yeah. And let me see what else. Anybody else has any questions? We are coming to an end. So I just want to make sure that we use a whole hour. We are at 7:57.
There we go. 3 minutes.
If there's more questions, I mean, I did not put the Zoom to end at 8. It's not like it's gonna just disappear at 8. I left it to run a little bit longer, but I want to respect everybody's time. So that's why I'm asking any more questions, anything else, comments.
Yeah, if I can help anyone, I do give a free consultation, just so you know. And, you can call me on the line that's on that card. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you about any issues or questions you might have.
Rom, can you put that slide back and put, oh, I see something pop up in the chat. Whoop, let me see real quick. Chat. Oh, okay. It's for sharing the information, Keisha. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, so we can have the information. Actually, this meeting or session was recorded. If you can leave your email in the chat if you want to receive a copy. No, not this before. A copy of this meeting. I will post it also on Origin's, uploaded, I should say, on Origin's YouTube, so that if there's some information you want to go back to and say, wait a minute, she said this, and you want to go back to it, go back to it. The goal is to open the conversation about all of this that we just talked about. I realize with all the amount of death that's going on lately, not a lot of us are very well versed in those legal matters, and they're very important. And you find out how important they are, unfortunately, when something happens. So I know that I'm following my parents' advice and taking care of it quick. And whenever I do something that I feel I can benefit from, I always want everybody else also to benefit from it. So if you want to contact Linda, please, we have her information. If you don't feel ready for it either, that's fine. I just wanted you guys to get the information. like the ladybird claws that got the light bulb open, just so that you guys know. All right. Anything else?
Thank you so much. It was very informative. I took
Oh, I'm so
definitely some
glad.
notes.
Yeah, like I said.
Yes.
Whoops, she just muted herself. She was about to say something and muted herself. You're muted, Linda. Your microphone.
I'm the worst with the Zoom. I'm just learning. I'm an old lawyer. I tease. I called a friend today to ask him about something, and he asked for my email, and I said at AOL.com. He laughed so hard. I still write
there's
everything
more to
on
it.
paper, even my calendar. So
Yes.
I'll get it though.
So I'm hoping that this gave everybody the opportunity not to be afraid to talk about death. Yes, it's part of it, the transition, and everything that's legally associated with it that you need to do to protect yourself and to protect your loved ones as well. And sometimes it's not just in death, is while you're living also you need to have these pieces of document, because it's not just when you die, but while you're living. And I hope that this opens the conversation, and that you guys, I'm almost telling you, you're like minions, go and spread it and go talk to other people. And I'm not saying try to bully them or influence them, but open their mind on this, because a lot of is going on, and we witness it too much, and we have to be proactive about it. It's there, so all right.
Well, thank you all. You have a
thank
great
you,
night.
Linda.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. You're welcome.
And I'll
All
see
right.
you tomorrow. Okay,
Yes,
thank
you
you.
will.
Bye-bye. Bye, Barbara.
Goodbye. Bye, everybody. Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.
Bye, everyone.
Be safe out there.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye. Oh, look at me forgetting to take a picture. Oh, I'll just take it out of the recording. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey.